Good morning, everybody, and thanks so much for joining us. And my name is Mallory Dayman from Gulf, Ontario, Manager of Participation. And I'm really happy to see all of you join us for our breakout today. I'm really excited for the three guests that I have with me this morning to sit and chat with us about women's participation and women and golf. Obviously, a really valuable segment of the market that I think, while we're seeing growth, we could do a heck of a lot better. And I'm really excited for the direction we are taking and the excitement we have within Gulf Ontario to really move the needle. And I'm really excited that so many of you have decided to join us today and be part of this conversation. And really, that's what I'd like the next 30 or 40 minutes to be, is a bit of a conversation. Our guests have some messages to share and some information that's really important for all of us. But then I do want to open the floodgates to questions or conversation. So whether you feel more comfortable putting something in the chat, or if you want to just when time is allotted to unmute yourself and ask a question to any of our guests, I really welcome it. Our three guests this morning are really influential women in not only in sport, but in golf. I'd like to welcome Veronica Allen, who's a research and innovation specialist with CIRC, the Sport Information Resource Center, based out of Ottawa. Veronica's been involved with a number of projects with golf over the last couple of years, and specifically a research project on women's participation in golf. She's going to share some information about the actual research behind it and where we may be falling short and where some of the opportunities really lie for us. Second, I'd like to introduce Marylee Kobik. She's the Vice President of the Lpga Foundation and Lpga Professionals. Marylee is instrumental in working with Gulf Ontario over the last 6 months or so in putting together our partnership, not only to support the Lpga and chapters in Ontario, but to help us bring USGA or Lpga USGA girls golf to Ontario as well, along with just supporting all of the women's programming and objectives we've got going at Gulf Ontario. And then last but not least, Lindsay Knowlton, founder and golf coach at Iron Lady Golf, as I stumble over my words this morning. Lindsay's been a staple of women's golf in Ontario for as long as I've known her and as long as I've been around in golf, and I'm sure many years before. And we're very lucky, and I'm very excited to have her come on board with Gulf Ontario, not only to support what we're doing, but to be an ambassador for this women's pathway and to really help us spread this message and hopefully do it really well. I'm excited to be able to work with her on this project as someone with a wealth of knowledge far beyond my golf knowledge. And so I'm really excited to bring all three of these women to you today to hopefully really dive deep into this conversation of growing women's golf. So to kick things off, I'm going to throw it to Veronica, and she's going to share some of the research that CIRC has created about the sport and women in golf. Veronica, welcome.
Thank you, Mallory. I'm just going to switch to share my screen. Can you see the slides now?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, thanks again for that great introduction. I feel like I don't need to spend too much time introducing myself then. But for anyone who doesn't know, CIRC, or the Sport Information Resource Center, is the knowledge mobilization hub for the Canadian sports sector. So essentially, within my role doing research and evaluation, I work on doing research for different sport partners. So for example, we've done a lot of great work with Golf Ontario over the past couple of years, as Mallory mentioned, specifically focused on last year, we did a review of the literature focused on female participation in golf, and particularly understanding how to attract more women and girls to golf and to keep them in the game for longer. And also recently, we've been working on a campaign called Moms Got Game. So not specific to golf, but more specific to sports in general. And I'll be drawing on some of that research as well to talk about the benefits of getting moms involved and how that might specifically benefit golf as well. So to get started, just a brief overview of what I'll talk about today. So first, focusing on the market potential for women and girls in golf, the benefits for you as course operators or anyone else involved in administering golf programs, of engaging women and girls, and finally, some strategies for getting more women and girls in the game based on the research and the evidence that we have to date. And I hope to provide you with some key messages and takeaways that will help you make the most of this market potential, especially during COVID-19, assuming we can get back to golf soon, especially here in Ontario, because I know that this is a great opportunity to kind of build on golf with flexible and kind of family-friendly options. So starting with the market potential, in 2010, more women participated in golf than any other organized sport in Canada. And I know this is a bit of an old stat, I couldn't find a more recent one, but I think it's really important to note that golf is appealing to women, and it's an activity that they're interested in. But that being said, the participation rates were still quite low at that time. So only 15% of women were playing golf. And that just means that there's significant room for growth in this area. And I think another promising point is that a more recent market analysis of a large number of people from across North America and Europe showed that nearly a third of non-golfing females were very interested in taking up golf in the next year or two. So just really showing that there's a market of people here that are really interested in golf and maybe just don't know how to get involved, or it's not as appealing to them for whatever reason. And because of this, the market potential of non-golfing females has become known as quote unquote the golf's $35 billion opportunity. So a huge opportunity for revenue and for bringing kind of more than just the women in, but their families as well. And because of that, it's sort of known now that increasing and retaining the number of active women golfers is key to the continued growth of the sport. And I know there's been a bit of a boom, at least over the last year or so, with the pandemic and lots of people getting involved in golf. So I think especially by offering these flexible or family-friendly golf opportunities, it's a great opportunity to bring women and girls into the game of golf as well. And then when we look at the benefits of engaging women and girls in golf, it's, as I mentioned before, when you attract women and especially moms into golf, you're actually having greater access to their children or their families as well. So by bringing women into the game, you're bringing their whole family into the game as well. And this is because women are key decision makers in how families spend their leisure time. So lots of research showing that moms and women in particular play a big role in kind of making those decisions. And we also know that when moms are not only playing, but enjoying activities like golf, their kids are more likely to play those sports and activities as well. And that goes for golf too. So by getting moms playing, they're more likely to get their kids playing as well, and just having the whole family involved. So lots more people playing golf in general. So knowing that girls and women might be a bit of an untapped market that could offer you several benefits, you're probably wondering, how do I bring more girls and women into your club or onto your course? And to understand some effective strategies for bringing in and retaining women, we first need to answer a few other key questions. And those are, what motivates women and girls to participate in golf? What attracts them to golf? And what are some of the barriers that they face to their golf participation? So kind of by answering these key questions, we can look at some evidence-based strategies for recruiting and retaining girls and women in golf. So I'll kind of go over the research that answers some of those questions, and then at the end, give you some sort of top tips, at least from the research, on how to bring women and girls in. So in general, female athletes are motivated to participate in sport for teamwork, fun, and fitness. And specifically, when we look at research in golf, primary drivers of women's golf participation are first, the health benefits of physical activity, and second, opportunities to socialize. So that's about two-thirds to 3/4 of women are citing these two reasons as the number 1 and 2 reasons that they play golf. So a large number of women are saying that this is why they play golf. And we also know that women are less likely to be motivated by business networking, tradition, or building mastery, so that's skill improvement, like men might be. So it's a bit of a different market, and we need to approach it in a different way in order to attract women to the sport. We also know that women are likely to prioritize sports that they can do easily and quickly, as well as sports that they can do with their families. So these are other important things to consider. So when we think about kind of like the flexibility of golf, or how can we make it something that families might be more attracted to, those are important points to consider. And also, women are more likely to golf if a family member, such as a partner or parent, plays golf. So again, kind of building into that idea of families being important for women's participation. So we can usually look at, for example, targeting men's spouses for events and things like that to bring women into the game. When we specifically think about moms, so again, talking about kind of some of the research we've done at CIRC with getting moms involved in activity, we know that when moms are more likely to participate in sport when they know that there's not just benefits for themselves, but for their whole family as well. So some important benefits that you can kind of like use to help draw women in might be that physically active moms report feeling healthier and happier, which makes them feel like better parents. So just by taking that time to get active and do an activity like golf, moms might feel better about themselves and their parenting. So great kind of benefit that we can draw on. Also, activities like golf provide moms with time to focus on themselves that can help them to kind of cope with those challenges or stresses of parenthood. So great kind of selling point there. And also specifically when we look at working moms, when they're doing have time to be active in activities like golf, they report feeling better, sleeping better, being more productive at work, and being better able to unwind from work. So when we specifically look at the market of working moms or professional moms, we know there's a lot of benefits here for them participating as well. So a number of selling points here, I think, that are great for not only bringing, moms in general, but working moms into the market as well. What attracts women and girls to golf? So what the research shows is kind of building on some of those motives for participating in those benefits. Flexible options for play, so such as, for example, having options to play 9 holes instead of 18, so there's a bit of a less of a time commitment. Obviously, with the importance of families, opportunities for families to play together, and then the social events, so bringing kind of that social aspect into the game. It's also important that women can see themselves represented, not just in the staff, but in kind of the offerings of the organization. So including female staff and merchandise in the pro shop or other areas are really important. And another thing that we kind of find might be rated as less important for men, but that are really important to women, things like aesthetics and cleanliness and making sure there's clean drinking water and clean bathrooms on the course. So just a number of kind of key points to consider when kind of making your facility attractive to women and girls. And finally, we just need to know what's stopping them. So by being able to address some of these barriers, we might be able to bring more women and girls in as well. So the number one barrier, I think, to sport in general for women is family obligations and domestic responsibilities. So again, this is why having like kind of flexible offerings or different options for offerings are really important. In some research, there's been shown that a male-dominated environment can be viewed as unwelcoming for some women. So really providing opportunities for that kind of more welcoming, friendly atmosphere. The social connections can be important. Another barrier often cited, the time commitment or cost associated with lessons or memberships. So again, kind of having that flexibility in place and making sure there's different options available can help to overcome that barrier. And finally, a number of women might experience anxiety, lack of confidence, or a lack of knowledge if they're specifically new to golf. So which might prevent them from coming out. So finding ways to address that by, having lessons available or even offering things like beginner only times on the course or things like that to make it kind of a bit of a more friendly, welcoming environment can also help to address some of those barriers. And yeah, I guess finally, just thinking about bringing all of those things together. So understanding not just, what motivates women, what they're attracted to, but also some of those barriers, we can think about some kind of top tips for recruitment and retention. And I think it's important to note here that it's not just about awareness, it's about making golf and golf courses appealing for women and girls. So bringing that research together, my first, I guess, top tip would be that we need to promote a relaxed, welcoming environment for beginners in particular. So some examples from the research that we saw were things like providing information packs with advice for new members, offering a walkthrough of the course to learn the layout, supporting skill development through structured lessons, or even doing things like setting dedicated times for beginners on the course, if that's an option for you. My second top tip, and I've mentioned this a few times, would be to increase the flexibility of golf participation. So knowing that time might be a barrier for some women, or just that they want different options to participate, for example, with their families. So things like providing a menu of membership options, so different options that they can pick and choose from to find something that fits best for them and their lifestyle and their family. Reducing their required playing time can also be kind of one thing that might work for some women, and just thinking about relaxing or getting creative with the rules and playing options, just to find things that work for that market. And my final top tip, which is probably very obvious at this point, is just involving friends and family. So organizing things like whether it's community-based social events or having family-friendly events and playing times can be really important. And especially with girls in particular, involving female adult role models. So again, whether that's in the pro shop, as the instructors, or just having opportunities for moms or aunts, for example, to participate with their daughters and nieces or granddaughters, things like that can be a great way to bring younger girls in as well. And I think that's all I had for today. Sorry, it's a little more formal than the conversational, but it's just easier for me to communicate the research that way. I'm happy to answer any questions at any point.
That's great. Thanks so much, Veronica. I'm really excited to see where we can take a lot of that research. I think, Carrie, I hope some of those things were popping off in your head as they were for me, is like, yes, we were doing something right testing that pilot project last year. And so I'm excited to be able to share a little bit more about that with all of you today and what our plans and goals are for 21 and beyond. And yeah, so thanks again, Veronica. I really appreciate that. Welcome to anybody who's new and joined us just in the last few minutes, and we're excited for you to have joined us today. I'm going to pass the mic, so to speak, on to Marylee Kobik from she's the Vice President of the LPGA Foundation and LPGA Professionals, and a new partner with Golf Ontario as we launch this Women's Pathway and try and grow participation both on the women's and the girls' side. So Marylee, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks, Mallory. And I'll look forward to our conversation in a few minutes. What I thought I'd just do is just give a little overview of the LPGA and really all of the different areas that we are involved with. And then we can certainly go over some questions and anything. Personally, I come to the LPGA a couple of years ago, but I owned a golf management company for more than 20 years. So I was very involved in the West Palm Beach area in Florida, overseeing 3 facilities for the county, and was a president of a junior golf foundation. So not only did I start from a playing background into then being in the business really at the grassroots level, and in the last 2 years being now part of the LPGA at the association level. So I feel like I've really sort of done the whole gamut of things. And just for me, because I do want to mention that before I even get started specifically on the LPGA, I did all of my junior golf in Ontario. I'm originally from Quebec, Canada, but I'm from northern Quebec. So I was closer to the Ontario program as a junior. So I just want to throw that out because obviously Golf Ontario has a special place in my heart. And that's really where it all started for me from a golf standpoint. So I just wanted to mention that. But from an LPGA standpoint, just a little bit of history. The LPGA really started with 13 amazing women who had a dream, and their dream was to really turn their passion into a golf career. And not to say that in 1950 that was not an easy feat, and so they really had to persevere and really work hard and do things that were really out of the box, and really did everything in terms of events. They ran everything themselves. So the LPGA today is still the largest and longest standing women's professional sports organization in the world. And we exist to provide opportunities for girls and women to pursue their dream through golf, through the sport of golf. After the tour was started, we had the teaching division in 1959 that started. And that was actually not easy. They had to vote multiple times in order to get that through the organization and pass. And Shirley Spork, which is one of our founders, was spearheaded that program. And Shirley's still with us today and very involved in some of the initiatives that we do, and always love to hear from her. So we currently, the LPGA has over 1,800 certified professionals in approximately 23 countries. In 1990, the foundation, LPGA Foundation, was started. And that actually got started because some tour players wanted to help and assist another tour player that was going through some difficulties. And there really wasn't any mechanism or pathway for them to assist that player. So the foundation was established in order to provide some assistance to that player. And the Dolores Hope Financial Fund is still in existence today and still help LPGA families that are in need. The LPGA Girls Golf was established back in 1989 by a lady called Sandy LeBeau. And what Sandy wanted to do is really create a program for her girls. She wanted her girls to be able to learn golf and participate with other girls. And so that's how the original LPGA Girls Golf Club got started. And then we associated with the USGA, which then became the LPGA USGA Girls Golf. And again, our goal is to empower and inspire and transform lives of girls through the game of golf. We have over 500 sites around globally with over 90,000 plus girls yearly. I think over the past 10 years, we have over 500,000 girls that we've touched their lives through the program. And then our I say our more recent acquire a couple of years ago, the Lpga acquired the EWGA, which has been actually a 30 plus year association for women. And the Lpga has now brought this organization with ours. And we basically are the recreational arm of the Lpga. So we provide playing and learning opportunities for members of all ages and abilities. I mean, the average age of our members is just under 60. So it is for women that are looking to learn, to play, to socialize, to have fun, to be in an environment where they feel comfortable, just like our girls in the girls golf program. Our Lpga Amateur Golf Association is really that same community and that same connection that they're looking for. We have approximately 13,000 members in over 120 chapters globally. Between all of our chapters, we probably run approximately 7,500 events a year. And our chapters are run by volunteers. So we have a great, wonderful group of women. And we have some representatives today on the call with Megan and her team from our Ontario chapters. We have 5 chapters currently. And we really appreciate all of their support. But our volunteers run the organization. They're passionate, and it's really just a great group for women to get together. And golf is just a vehicle really for much more. I want to just go back to something that Veronica said earlier. And, you know, I've always looked at it with my business, especially the 20 years past, is if you can bring mom or you can into golf, you're bringing the family. And when she talked about, you know, family obligations being one of the restrictive pieces to it, one of the things that we had done with our organization is a program that we called Learn While You Wait. And what it was is we would, you know, all the pros would come in, we'd get the juniors, the girls, and we would go play. And then the moms or the dads, the families would stay and wait for them. And, you know, at one point, like, wow, what a sort of a waste, because why not teach the parents and the moms? So we would basically bring the juniors in one group, and we'd bring the moms and the parents into the other group. And instead of them just waiting for their kids, and like they drive around, and then we actually took the opportunity to teach them golf as well. So it became a family affair. And we then, if the family's involved, you're gonna keep all the participants for a long, long time. So we're happy to be part of a partnership with Ontario. Looking forward to bring girls golf to the province, as well as continuing to support our 5 wonderful chapters that are already established in Ontario, and hopefully, you know, continue to grow the amateur portion as well.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Marylee. I really appreciate that. And I think you're bang on there. I love that concept of learning while you wait. And there's definitely something to be said for an opportunity that I think often, or has over the years, really been overlooked. And I was really excited this morning to listen to Mike's chat with Harold, and him mentioning that exact same thing about bringing kids, you're bringing moms. And there's truly an opportunity for us there that I think, while we all maybe recognize it or understand it at its core, are we really as an industry doing enough to support that? So that's what I'm really excited about, our partnership and the opportunities there. I think a key piece of that is, while over the years in golf in Ontario in particular, we've seen women's programs. Golf Ontario has been one of those that has launched a women's program of learning in the past. But I don't think there's always been that next step. And so the value for me in partnering with the Lpga Foundation and working with specifically the AM chapters in the province allows us to provide the next step, or a piece of the pathway for women who are new to the sport. I think being able to to share not only an opportunity to give it a try and experience it, but then have that place to go that is inviting and non-intimidating, and a group of peers that they can be supported by, is really, really valuable. I wonder if maybe, Marylee, you could chat a little bit, or if there's something that you've learned or the best piece of advice you could give in terms of kind of creating that relationship, whether it be chapter to participant, or even as a girls coach for those that are members and maybe looking to launch a girls club or girls golf chapter. Is what's creating that environment? What's the best thing for them to kind of take that first step and get started and kind of dip their toe in the water, so to speak?
Yeah, so from an amateur standpoint, the best thing is there's some great chapters that are already established. So for some of the facilities and some of the professionals in the area, is connect to a chapter that's already in place. One of the things that we find a lot that's the need from a chapter standpoint is our volunteers are busy organizing, events and social activities, and where they need support. A lot of it is on the education side. They're not expert from a teaching standpoint and an educational standpoint. So for facilities and professionals in Ontario, what a great way to bring and be involved in the partnership with a chapter to provide the educational component that they need, because we have all levels as members in our chapters. We have, ladies that are great players and they enjoy the competition, but we also have the women that are new, have never been, they've just been invited, they want to be part, but they need to learn. And that's the piece that we have, we hear from our chapters a lot, that they need that support. So for sure, if there's a chapter in your area, reach out. If there's none, we can look at potentially starting something in the area. And we have some small chapters, we have some large chapters. So there's no size, or you don't necessarily know, I need to get hundreds of women. Even if it's a few to get started, and then it grows that way. But the educational component is very, very important. Our leaders really sort of take care of the social and, the tournament and the league aspect of what we do. From a girls golf standpoint, our girls golf program, we have over 500 of them, and they're so very different. We have some that only have 20 girls, and we have some that have hundreds and hundreds of girls, which some of our site directors, actually, that's what their business is. Their girls golf is actually their business. That's what they do 100%. For me, with our foundation, we had girls golf as part of our overall organization. So we ran one girls golf activity every single month. That was specifically for girls. So let me just give a little bit of why our girls golf program is a little different than any other junior program. So girls, what we found is learn much better if they are in a girls environment, especially starting out. So it's not just about golf. So girls golf is not just about stance and swing. It's about friendships and fun and teamwork, and just being in that environment where they can be themselves and they don't have to be careful because boys are around. So once they get to really create those friendships and there's the group that they feel comfortable, then they start loving golf, and golf becomes sort of, they will continue on. But oftentimes, if a girl is introduced just in a general environment where they come to a clinic and you go straight to the golf balls and you start hitting, you're with boys, the boys are hitting it far, they're not hitting it, they won't like it, they feel intimidated, they're not confident. And that's what girls golf does, is let's build the confidence, let's get them comfortable in an environment of girls, and then we can transition them into sort of an overall or a mixed group. So one quick example before I pass it back. So a girls golf activity would be, instead of going straight to the putting green and doing tips on, let's say, putting and starting to putt, with girls golf, what we would do is we would start with an activity of decoration of golf balls. So we would have the girls decorate their golf ball, where they're doing crafts and teamwork, and they're all together as friends. Then we would bring them on the putting green for clinic, and then they're putting with the ball that they design, for example. So there's that off golf segment as well as the the golf skill component.
That's great. I love that. And what I love about that is, as much as talking about a junior girl and an adult woman or a mom is similar, it's also different, and from an age categories perspective, but the concept is very similar in terms of, I think, of what we're about to launch with our women's tri golf series. Is we're not about the lesson itself, it's about experiencing the game and getting out to give it a try, and then the social aspect of having a glass of wine or a beverage after the round and really being able to share that experience, and kind of approaching women and girls in a very similar way in terms of making sure that it's not just about the sport and not just about hitting balls and getting better, but actually being part of something and having a community.
And that's where the amateur, like in our amateur groups and our chapters, that's where once they like it, that then they need a group to continue, to your point. And we hear all the stories about our amateur chapters. It's much more than golf. The more interesting, or the more I guess heartfelt stories come from women that went through some difficult happenings, either health or family difficulties, and the chapter was there. The other women were there to support them and get them through. So it does become much more than just a golf swing and being on the golf course.
That's great. Before I wrap up this section, Marylee, I just wonder if you can maybe share a tidbit or two of what's to come, looking at 21 and beyond for the LPGA Foundation and LPGA professionals, and what you're maybe most looking forward to.
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I'm looking forward to getting back to our events. 2020, all of our events were canceled. We host approximately 15 association-wide events. And so we are starting those at the end of May. So just about a month or so away. So we're excited, but a bit nervous at the same time, because we know that some of the restrictions are going to prevent us from doing the typical events, I guess, that we normally host. So, but that will be great to get back and be able to see our members again, because for us at headquarters, we communicate with all of our chapter leaders, but mostly of our members is when we're out at events that we see them. For 2022, we're looking to bring our conference back. That's an annual conference that also focuses on non-competitive aspect of the association. So for women that want to still come and gather and have that group and connection atmosphere, but not necessarily play the competitive side, we're going to have our conference that we will introduce again next year. So we're looking forward to that. We've got our Solheim Cup experience coming up in September, which we're bringing an amateur group with us. So we're really looking forward to that. From the LPGA, the girls golf side, we have our LPGA leadership academies that are always so exciting. And I wish I could have participated when I was a teenager. It's from girls from 13 to 17. Hopefully we can get some of your Ontario girls to come and be part of those leadership academies. They're very special, very incredibly empowering and building confidence for the girls. And again, I went to one last year, and I just, my immediately after it was finished, I was like, wow, that would have made a difference in my progression in life. So yeah, a lot of exciting happenings. It's just a bit still in transition with everything. So still having to run everything in a bit of a modified version.
Absolutely. That's great. Thanks so much, Marylee. I appreciate your time being with us today. And like I said, at the once we've made our rounds, we will open it up to questions, and I'm sure everyone's got something for you. So
thank you. And thanks to all of you in Gulf Ontario, or chapter leaders in Ontario. Really look forward to, to some great things to come. Thank you.
Thank you. So next, it's a great segue for me in terms of what we were just talking about, and in making sure that the women's experience and the girls' experience is more than just golf. And someone who does that better than anyone I know is Lindsay Knowlton and Iron Lady Golf. So Lindsay, I'll pass it to you to kind of share what your experience has been over the last 10 years or so of running women's programming primarily, and what you see the future of women's golf being, and how Golf Ontario in particular and our clubs represented and our volunteers can help support that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Mallory, and to Veronica and Marylee. Thank you so much for those insights. It's amazing. And as I was sitting here, I'm thinking, yes, 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 this is all making so much sense. And obviously the climate is a little bit different in Ontario right now, but I think it gets us that much more excited to get out and play. I, as Mallory said, started Iron Lady Golf about 9 years ago. I started my golf journey when I was 14 years old, and my dad needed a little friend to play with. And I remember thinking at the time, like, I don't like golf. I don't have any friends that golf. I don't really want to get into golf. But then I realized there was this guy at my golf course, Paul, and I had such a big crush on him. I thought, okay, if I'm going to make Paul my boyfriend, I guess I'll just like have to learn how to play golf. And so he was sort of the hook that got me in. And, you know, I think that hook for everyone is something, whether it's a Paul, whether it's a work event, whether it's wanting to play with your family. There is a hook there. And I think part of what my passion has been is trying to figure out how to help more women say yes to golf. And so I went on, I played in the States at Ohio State University and then on the national team for a few years. And Golf Ontario has been a huge part of my life. At the time, it was GAO way back in the day. And when I graduated, I started working for TaylorMade. And so I had this office corporate job that was really fun and pretty cool and still involved in golf. And I had so many of my friends and my colleagues saying, okay, I'm dying to learn how to play golf, or I have to learn for work, or I'm going to retire with my spouse and we have to have something in common. And I just was thinking to myself, this is crazy. I just want to help more women say yes to golf. And I was sitting in Starbucks and I was telling my best friend this idea to help more women say yes. And I didn't really know how to do it or what it was, but felt pretty passionate about it. And this guy, I could see him looking over and he kept listening into this conversation. And finally, he leans over, hands me his business card and said, I'm so sorry. I've just been eavesdropping on this conversation and I love this. Call me. And it turned out he was like a senior vice president at a bank at Manulife, actually. And he said, you know, you're onto something. Golf is an incredible medium, but the message is so much more. And I want you to come and give a lunch and learn to my female employees about leaning into fear and discomfort. So that's where this journey started for me. I gave that lunch and learn talk. And then from there was this group of women that said, great, now we want to learn how to play golf. And I remember thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I know how to play golf. I don't know how to teach golf. What am I going to do? And it was Mary Jane Hall at the time, who was at the Toronto Ladies Golf Club. And she was wonderful. I remember taking her out to Milestones for dinner and saying, could you teach this group of people? And I'll teach them how to sort of show up with rules and etiquette and how to play the business game of it. And she said, absolutely. And so we did this first clinic and it was amazing. And then all of a sudden there was this group of women that said, wow, okay, well now what? Well, how can we stay together and do more? And I thought, oh boy, I better make this up. Okay, we run a 4-week monthly clinic. And so it was really this like amazing organic progression of the now what's. And this whole idea for me that I started realizing, like, it wasn't a lesson that people were after. It was like community that really was the glue that was making golf stick. And the more that they stayed together, the more that they wanted to be together and grow and experience the fun that golf was. And then all of a sudden it led to on-course lessons. And then it led to retreats. And we started going away and traveling together. And then a couple of years ago, I realized that they kind of wanted to leave the instructional nest, but still be together in a way. And I had this dream of creating these Iron Lady Golf leagues. And the league was, you know, very similar to what we hear about what's happening with Marylee and the Lpga chapter. But just, if you're not a member at a private golf club, to be honest, what do? Where do you go? You know, you may have that 1 or 2 friends that play golf, but if they cancel because they've got something going on in their life, I don't really know. So joining a community where you can play golf is a huge piece of the puzzle. And we really saw huge growth with the help actually of the Golf Canada Foundation and their support. But really, COVID last year helped with people wanting more, wanting to get out from behind their computers and connect with people weekly, and golf being such an incredible way to do that. And it is so fun. And so it is the social element, it's the fun, it's the weekly exercise, it's getting outdoors, it's meeting new friendships. And I'm super excited to work with Golf Ontario this year on the Try Golf series and bringing that to as many women as we can and facilities as we can. And yeah, looking forward to a great year with Mallory and the team.
Amazing. Thanks so much, Lindsay. And I agree. I think that's one of the things I'm looking forward to most once we get back to some sense of normalcy and actually can get out and play, especially where we are now. And it is this opportunity to really just make golf accessible for women and not scary. I think that's a really key piece that whether it's scary is the right word or not, I think that's the one thing the research is showing us, and that the feedback we get from participants is that it can be intimidating. And if you don't know what you don't know. So it's sometimes tough to take that leap. So if we can create an environment that is welcome and open and honest about what we're offering, and that it's welcoming in a sense that we're not saying you have to play by all of the rules and know them all as soon as you get there. We're not even saying you have to dress the part. That's a commitment in and of itself. We want to take down those barriers and really invite women to just give it a go and have a whack at it, so to speak, and not necessarily that you know exactly where your hands and your feet are going to go, but just that you're going to try it. And hopefully through that experience, creating that positive environment allows them to be open to trying more and learning and really engaging in the sport more than they ever have before, maybe, or that they have not done in a really long time. So we're really excited to have you join us in that venture. Part of that being, it's been mentioned a few times, and for those that are new to Golf Ontario's programming and what our plans are for this year, it's a key piece of our strategic plan, and our pillar of participation is growing that women and girls game. And part of that is this Try Golf series that we're going to launch this year in our 3 service regions. It was a pilot project. All kudos to Carrie Julie and her project last year of giving this, really launching it for us in Niagara last season and allowing me to tag along and be part of that project and helping us grow that over this year. And really the key is just having fun and knocking down those barriers and inviting them to try 3 holes or 2 holes or 6 holes or all 9, and then celebrating that experience with their friends and hopefully new and old that have come to these Try Golf series. And then through the chapters and through our network of coaches and supportive clubs, being able to provide them some next steps. So there's some really exciting things coming down through 2021 as we start to get back to golf in the next few weeks and move into hopefully a really successful season. I think at this point, I'm really excited that we're on time and keeping things moving, but I would love to open up the floor to any questions or conversation that anybody'd like to pose to any of our guests today, or to even to the group to say, this is a challenge we're experiencing. But I would really love to hear from some of you in terms of what you garnered from this, what you heard, what you would like to learn more about. If there's anybody that wants to, feel free to unmute or throw something in the chat. But yeah, Nancy.
That was great. I totally agree with all of the comments that were mentioned today. One of the things that I thought was really helpful, at least at the club that I play out of, in terms of participation from women, is really babysitting. Like women between the ages of 25 and 50, they typically will have young children at home. And that's the age where you start playing golf, at least the men do anyways. And so I found what really increased participation at our club was that they offered babysitting. And so the babysitting could be tied into like getting the kids golfing, but if the kids aren't interested, at least there's some other activity. So I don't know, that's easier to do when you're a private club, but I guess, Lindsay, what sort of things that can we do for the ladies who play out of public golf courses? And I think that would be something that would increase participation if there was some sort of a babysitting, something to do with the kids anyways, because that's really the big issue, is that women can't leave the house if they're looking after the kids.
Yeah, and I think that's such a good point, Nancy, because what I've found, especially with the women that are coming out to our Iron Lady golf programming, is that it's very obvious that there is this sort of younger contingency of the early to mid 20s, all the way up to sort of the mid 30s, and then this huge break. And then all of a sudden, you know, they come back out of retirement, golf retirement, as I say, and they're coming back with us again. And, you know, I think there's some wonderful ideas that have come out of today, and running. I love the idea of running sort of a camp or babysitting young program alongside, you know, women parents, I'll say, being able to learn alongside. From a public club perspective, I mean, I would say if they were open to having some kind of babysitting component, while the women's programming or parent programming could happen at the same time. I'm not totally sure the legalities and insurance and programming they'd have to put in place, but I do think we'd see a huge bump in that participation if we were able to do it.
I think something key there too is we as an industry need to be cognizant of the timing, both day and time of day, that we offer programming for women. There's obviously likely periods of time that if dad works during the day, that running a clinic on a Wednesday at noon is probably not going to be feasible, but maybe doing something in the evening or on a weekend makes things a little bit easier to get away from the house because there's another parent around or a grandparent or whatever the case may be. I think it opens the doors if we're thinking with that lens on versus just thinking I'm going to offer programming where I have space in my tee sheet or where someone is available, but really being cognizant of the demographic that you're going after. Jonathan, I see you have your virtual hand up there. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much for taking my question. At the club that I play out last year, there's great pressure on the tee. Lots of golfers, as we are well aware. Memberships, you know, trial memberships, everyone was signing up. But what I noticed anecdotally was they all seem to be men, or more so of men. You know, I'm just wondering, does Golf Ontario have statistics that if there was a great rise in golf participation last year, was it equal amongst the genders, or was it, again, men maybe being a little bit more enthusiastic?
It's a great question, and one that I'm not sure I actually have the answer to. I don't know if Jane, since I see you on here, you might have a little bit more anecdotally to have a sense of that. I know I'm putting you on the spot.
Well, the research that Golf Canada did in preparation of Golf is Calling indicated that the biggest group was the 18 to 34, and that they 65 or so, don't quote me, but a big part of that was women. So it's not necessarily research that we did, but we did hear that Golf Canada did research and that it was showing that it was skewing female.
Yeah, and just from the statistics from non-golf courses is that 50% of participants of non-course activity is women. So like a Top Golf or driving range, where overall on course 23% are women, the non-course is 50%. So to us, that does show that women are interested and they do want to learn. Then I think it's that fear, or that the course part of it is, how do we get them from their interest onto the golf course? So there definitely is interest there. I think part of it too is like education of staff. I think for facilities, one of the things that I know we worked really hard at our facility, but it's not only do we want to invite and want to welcome women, we want to make sure that our staff is trained and educated to be open and welcome to women. So I think, and juniors, I mean, so that's a big component. I think for those of you that are, you know, facility owners or that manage facilities, It's not just about opening the doors, but making sure that every staff member at every part of the operation is trained and well educated, and making sure they understand what the mission of the club and the philosophy and their goals, making sure that they're aligned as well. Because there's some some people prejudge. They see women come in and to a facility, they might think they're not as good golfers, and that's definitely a prejudged information that they all need to be educated as well. To answer while I'm on the mic here for Nancy, at a public facility, the only thought that really came to that, we never looked in the babysitting side for the group, but think that that's a huge component, right? So I don't know, you know how we normally teach with the buddy system, where one hits and one waits while the other one's hitting. Potentially doing something like that, where if you got a group of 10 moms, 5 are hitting, 5 are with the 10 kids, and then you rotate, the other 5 go with the kids. So you create a safe environment for them and with the kids to be, and the moms can then rotate back and forth to hitting. So just a thought that came while I was listening, because certainly something we never looked at, but I think it's got value for sure for the future.
Thanks, Rudy. Barbara, I see you have your hand up.
I think actually Jonathan was before me, but I'll go now if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, good. I just want to comment something that Hamilton started 5 or 6 years ago and has been so successful. They do a 9 and dine strictly for beginner new lady members. They don't have to make a commitment to joining. These would be spouses of current members. You can't just walk in off the street, but spouses and people who are brand new to golf. And they would have their own group of probably 20 women. They would start at 5 o'clock at night. The first 3 that showed up went out. Our lady pros were all involved in it. They had dinner afterwards. Some women would just show up for the dinner. Some would play a couple holes and go in. The point was they had a group, so they felt comfortable. And so they learned the game with roughly 20 other women. And then they made the decision to join the club. And I'll tell you, I think we were 80-90% of them joining the club. So it was good business and also great getting women into a comfortable setting. And it was at, I think, a good time of day too, at 5 o'clock at night, between 5 and 6, they would show up. Anyway, it was very successful. And I'm sure we have a new pro now, but other people from Hamilton Golf could give any of the pros on the line what they did. It really was very successful.
Okay. I love that. Thanks so much, Barbara. I love that concept. And yeah, I mean, I think that's a great example of how almost hopefully easy it is to build into a regular golf tee sheet on an average day, is just to set aside a few of those times and put an offering out there. And as they arrive, make them welcome and let them go. And having that opportunity to socialize afterwards definitely doesn't hurt.
Well, and of course, we have 27 holes, so it was a lot easier. We could take 9 of the holes that were actually closed and send them out, so there wasn't the pressure on anyone. But anyway, there's different ways to do it, and all I can tell you is, from a business standpoint, was very successful, and for strictly getting women on the golf course. And I see them now, the ones that started 5 or 6 years ago, and they still play together as a group, and it's very nice to see. Yep, thank you.
That. Thanks, Barbara. And I think that I hope that the key thread I'm seeing throughout, and I hope that others have observed too, is that not only is this a women's conversation, and there's a great avenue and appetite to engage more women in the game, but that intrinsically brings families and the opportunity to bring more children into the game as well, which obviously can only help us down the road. I think part of that conversation also is important to me for all of you on the call, really, to know that that's what myself in particular with my role at Golf Ontario, but Golf Ontario as a whole, is we're here to support however we can in growing that message and supporting our clubs and our PGA professionals and our volunteers that want to get involved in all of that. And I encourage you to reach out to me or any of your Golf Ontario contacts to get to me to find out how you can do more or start something or engage a demographic that you haven't in the past. We certainly have a few things we're going to give a go this year and see how we can move the needle, but we are more than anything, want to support our clubs and our facilities and our pros in doing the same. And we definitely don't have all of the answers, but we can help you wade through this new and exciting opportunity in women in golf and creating that pathway for them. So as we reach kind of the top of our time limit before we all head back into the final portion of the AGM this morning, I want to thank you all so much for attending and joining us in this really important conversation. Most of all, I want to thank Veronica and Marylee and Lindsay for helping me in sharing this message today and sharing your insights and your expertise in women in sport. It does not go unnoticed, and it is invaluable to our sport. So thank you so much for joining us today. For those that haven't participated or were participating this morning, you'll go back to that same link following closing out the Zoom here today to see the final portion of the AGM. Thank you so much, and enjoy what's soon to be a wonderful golf season.